It was the night Olivia Henshaw would never forget. Her heart thundered as she walked alone down a dim, empty street, her father's voice echoing in her mind, her dreams just within reach. Then, in a single instant, everything shattered. Blue lights, screeching tires, a gunshot. They called it a mistake. But that mistake stole the life she knew and forced her to rebuild from nothing. Years later, when Olivia finally came face to face with the man who pulled the trigger, what happened next left everyone speechless. Stay to the very end, because when she looked him in the eye, she said something no one expected. Kindly endeavor to like, subscribe, and comment what you learned if you this story intriguing. This will enable it reach others who needs to see it. Olivia Henshaw's hands trembled as she clutched the warm cup of coffee between them. The streets outside were busy, full of life. People rushing to work, cars honking, the city pulsing with energy. But Olivia was somewhere far away. She sat in a small cafe, the kind of place she liked to visit when she needed to think, to focus. It was the kind of place that felt like home, even though she had no one to share it with. She was a young professional, a woman who had always worked hard, who had always pushed herself to be better, to do better. But sometimes she couldn't escape the past. 5 years ago, everything had been different. The memory of that night still haunted her. It felt like a bad dream she couldn't shake off. She remembered the flashing lights, the sharp sound of a car tire screeching against the asphalt, and then, before she could even blink, a loud crack, a gunshot. She had frozen in fear as the world spun around her, everything feeling so surreal. Officer Nathan Roberts hadn't meant to shoot her, of course. That's what everyone said. He was a cop, a man sworn to protect and serve. He'd only been responding to a call, a routine traffic stop that turned into chaos. But he hadn't known she was just a young woman heading home after a long day of work. He hadn't known that she would end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. She didn't remember much after that, just the hospital bed, the pain, and the feeling of the world being unfair. People tried to console her. They said she was lucky to be alive. They said that Officer Roberts had been trying to protect her, that he'd been scared, that it was all just a mistake. But nothing felt lucky about it. Her life had changed in an instant. She had to go through physical therapy, relearn how to walk, to live with the scars, both physical and emotional. And the worst part? The endless media reports, the public scrutiny. People had questions. They wanted answers. But nothing could explain the pain she felt. It took time, a lot of time, for her to heal. She threw herself into her work, became a stronger, more focused version of herself. She wanted to forget, to move forward. But every now and then, she'd see his face, the face of Officer Nathan Roberts. He had tried to apologize, he had tried to reach out, but she never wanted to talk to him. What was there to say? How could he undo what he had done? The door to the cafe opened, and the bell jingled softly. Olivia's heart skipped a beat as she glanced up, her breath catching in her throat. There he was, Officer Nathan Roberts, standing right in front of her. For a moment, neither of them said anything. The world seemed to hold its breath. He had aged, she noticed. His face was a little more worn, a little more tired. But his eyes were the same. They still held the same sadness, the same guilt. "Olivia," he said, his voice low and hesitant. I never thought I'd see you here. I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I've been carrying this guilt for so long. I need to tell you how sorry I am." Olivia didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him. Her hands still holding the cup of coffee, she felt a mix of emotions, anger, confusion, but also a strange sense of calm. This was the moment. the moment she had imagined 1,000 times in her head, the moment when they would finally come face to face. But now that it was happening, she wasn't sure what to say. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why did you shoot me?" Nathan took a deep breath. "It was a mistake, Olivia. I thought you were someone else. I thought you were a threat, and in that moment I reacted out of fear. I didn't mean to hurt you." A heavy silence filled the air between them. Olivia felt her chest tighten. This was what she had always wanted to hear, the explanation, the apology. But it didn't make the pain go away. It didn't change the fact that her life had been shattered by a single moment of fear. I was just a woman going home," Olivia whispered, her eyes searching his for some kind of truth, something she could believe in. Nathan's face softened, and for the first time in years, Olivia saw something in him that she hadn't seen before. Regret. Real, raw regret. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment just as much as she had. I know, he said, his voice cracking. "I know, and I wish I could take it all back." Olivia swallowed hard, the emotion swirling inside her like a storm. She wasn't sure what she was supposed to do, what she was supposed to say. The anger, the hurt, the fear. It was all so much to carry. She stood up suddenly, startling him. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said, her voice steady but cold. "Maybe I never will. But I need you to understand something. What you did to me doesn't just affect me. It affects everything. It affects the way I look at the world, the way I look at people. It's not just about you and me." Nathan nodded, his eyes filled with pain. I know that now." For a moment, they just stood there. Two people caught in a moment neither of them could change. But Olivia knew one thing, for sure. She was stronger than she had been before. She had rebuilt her life, piece by piece. And no matter what happened next, she wasn't going to let this man or anyone take that from her. And just as she turned to walk away, she paused, her hand on the door. "I wanted to apologize, I heard you. But what I need to know, Nathan, is whether you've learned anything. Have you learned to see people for who they really are, not just for what you fear them to be?" Nathan didn't answer. He couldn't. But as Olivia stepped out into the world once more, she couldn't help but wonder, would he ever truly understand?
Days turned into weeks after the encounter with Officer Nathan Roberts. Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that her life had somehow shifted again. The memory of that coffee shop meeting haunted her, and yet it didn't weigh her down as she had expected. Instead, it gave her a new clarity, a new understanding of herself. She had always prided herself on her strength, but now, for the first time in a long while, she felt something else: peace. She went back to her usual routine, working hard at her job, focusing on her goals, and making sure to live her life with purpose. But there were times when, in the quiet moments, her thoughts would drift back to Nathan. What had he really learned from that night? Had he truly understood the impact of his actions? Was he just sorry because he had been caught in a mistake? Or was there something deeper, something that would change him forever? Olivia wasn't sure if she would ever get an answer to those questions, but she knew she couldn't let them consume her. She had to move forward, to keep striving for what she wanted. The scars were still there, hidden beneath the surface, but they no longer defined her. She had learned to live with them, to make them a part of her story rather than let them control it. But fate had a way of reminding her of the past, of drawing the threads of her life together in unexpected ways. One rainy afternoon, Olivia was at her desk, reviewing reports for a big presentation coming up. Her phone buzzed on the table, interrupting her focus. She glanced at the screen, surprised to see a number she didn't recognize. Hesitantly, she answered. Olivia Henshaw? The voice on the other end was familiar, yet distant. It took our moment to place it. "This is Olivia," she replied, trying to place the voice. "It's Nathan Roberts. I know this is probably strange, but I wanted to ask if we could talk again. There's something important I need to say to you." Her breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected to hear from him again. She had wondered if he would try, but she didn't know how she felt about the idea. Her initial reaction was to hang up, to pretend like this was just another chapter of her past that she could leave behind. But she didn't. "Okay," she said, her voice steady but cautious. "Where do you want to meet?" They agreed to meet at a park near her apartment. It was a quiet place, a little away from the noise of the city. When Olivia arrived, she saw Nathan standing by a bench under the shade of a large oak tree, looking much like he had that day in the cafe. Older, wearier, but there was something else in his eyes now, a vulnerability that she hadn't seen before. "Olivia," he said, his voice shaky as he stepped toward her, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I've spent the past few months thinking about what you said, about what happened, and I've come to realize that I didn't just shoot you that night. I shot a piece of my own humanity." Olivia stood there, silent, not sure what to say. The last time they spoke, she had left him with a question he couldn't answer. She was still unsure if he was capable of understanding what she had meant, but the tone in his voice now felt different, sincere. "I've been trying to make amends. Not just with you, but with myself. I'm going through therapy now, and I'm trying to be a better person, a better cop. I'm trying to understand how the world looks from other people's eyes, how to listen, and I just wanted you to know that." Olivia's heart twisted. She had always wanted people to change, to learn, to grow. She wanted Nathan to understand the weight of his actions. And here he was, telling her he was trying. But trying wasn't always enough, was it? I hear you, Nathan," Olivia said, her voice thick with emotion. "But sometimes people don't get the chance to change. They don't get to fix what they broke. I don't know if what you're doing will be enough, or if it can undo the damage. But at least you're trying, and that's something." For the first time in their meeting, Nathan seemed to break. His face crumpled, and for a moment, Olivia thought he might collapse under the weight of his own guilt. She didn't know whether she should reach out and comfort him or leave him to wrestle with his emotions. The truth is, she didn't know if she wanted him to be forgiven. She didn't know if she was ready to forgive him. "I don't know how to make this right," Nathan whispered, barely audible in the soft breeze of the park. "But I hope one day you can look at me and see more than just the man who hurt you." There was a long silence between them, filled with the weight of words left unsaid. Olivia felt her heart begin to race again. The same questions that had plagued her for years resurfaced. What did forgiveness look like? What did healing feel like? Could she truly let go of the pain, or was it something that would always linger? In that moment, Olivia realized something. She didn't have to forgive him today. She didn't have to fix everything in this one conversation. She didn't have to carry the weight of his apology alone. What mattered was that she had survived. She had rebuilt herself from the ground up. And maybe, just maybe, forgiveness was something she could give when she was ready, not when anyone else told her she should. "You're right," Olivia said after a long pause. "Maybe one day I'll look at you and see more than the man who hurt me. But that day isn't today." Nathan nodded, his eyes downcast. "I understand." They stood there for a moment, the sound of raindrops lightly falling from the tree above them. Olivia didn't know where their journey would go from here, but for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel the need to rush. She had taken the first step toward healing, and maybe that was enough. As she walked away, she felt a strange sense of closure, not because everything was perfect, but because she had finally let herself move forward without holding on to the anger, without waiting for some grand resolution. And as she disappeared into the crowd, she realized that life was full of unpredictable moments. Some brought pain, others growth, but the most important part was how you chose to walk through them.
If you are still watching, definitely you love it. Endeavor to subscribe, like, and leave a comment where you are watching from. Weeks passed, and Olivia found herself growing even more. She threw herself into her work, her community projects, and the things she had always been passionate about. She spent more time with her family and close friends, people who had been there for her even when the world felt like it was falling apart. The memories of that night, the flash of blue lights, the gunshot, the pain, were still there, but they no longer controlled her. They no longer held her hostage. She had rebuilt her life, piece by piece, until it became something she could stand tall in. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers, and for the first time in years, Olivia felt like she was finally living, truly living, in a way she hadn't before. But there were still moments, those quiet moments in between, when her mind would drift back to Nathan. She had seen him once more at a police reform event, speaking about the work he was doing to better understand the communities he served. He wasn't just apologizing anymore. He was actively working to make things right, not just for himself, but for everyone he had hurt along the way. Olivia had watched him from a distance, a strange mix of emotions swirling within her. She knew that the work he was doing wasn't going to fix everything, but it was a start. It was a sign that he had heard her, that he had truly understood the weight of his actions. That was all she could ask for. Still, as the weeks went by, Olivia didn't think she would see him again. Their worlds had become separate, two different stories that had once collided but now continued on in parallel lines. And yet, when the phone rang one chilly November morning, she wasn't expecting the voice on the other end. "Olivia," Nathan said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I know I promised you I wouldn't bother you again, but I need to ask one last thing. Can we meet again?" Olivia hesitated. A part of her wanted to say no, to keep walking forward without looking back. But another part of her knew that this moment would bring something important. "Where?" she asked. They agreed to meet at the same park, the same bench. Olivia arrived early, her thoughts swirling but calm. She had thought about what she would say to him if they ever spoke again. She had imagined 1,000 conversations, but she never imagined it would be like this. When Nathan arrived, he looked different, more at peace. His face had softened and his posture was more confident, but there was still something in his eyes, something that made Olivia realize how much of a toll the past had taken on him. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Nathan said, sitting down beside her. "I wanted to come here to apologize again, but this time I wanted to say thank you." Olivia turned to him, surprised. "Thank me for what?" "For making me see that I had to change. For making me realize that my job isn't just about following orders or protecting people from harm. It's about understanding the people I'm supposed to protect. You made me face myself, and that's something I'll never forget." Olivia's chest tightened. It wasn't what she had expected, but it was something she needed to hear. "You've changed," she said softly. "I can see it. And I think that's what matters most." Nathan nodded, his eyes welling up with emotion. "I can't undo what I did. I can't go back and take away the pain I caused you. But I hope that by showing up, by being better, it'll mean something." For a long moment, Olivia didn't speak.
She just sat there, her heart heavy yet light at the same time. She had come to terms with the past, with the hurt, with the scars. She had accepted that there were things beyond her control, things that she couldn't change, and that was okay. What mattered was what she did with it. She turned to him then, her gaze steady, her voice calm. She had thought about what she would say to him if they ever spoke again. She had imagined 1,000 conversations, but she never imagined it would be like this. "I've made my peace," she said softly, "and maybe now you can make yours too." As she began to walk away, Nathan stayed behind, watching her go. There was no dramatic resolution, no perfect ending, but Olivia didn't need that. She had come to realize that the true power in life came from how you moved forward, how you chose to heal and let go. She didn't need to erase the pain, but she didn't have to carry it either. She was walking forward, not just in her own life, but in a life she could finally live on her own terms, strong, free, and unbroken. And as she walked away, she thought about the words she had said to him. "You can make a difference, but only if you truly see the people around you." She wasn't sure if Nathan would ever fully understand all that she had gone through, all that he had put her through, but she hoped, deep down, that one day he would. It wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about change. And in that quiet, rainy November park, two people had found their own ways to change. Thanks for watching. I'm grateful. Remember to see other ones. Bye for now.